Hi guys, it's Little Kansas Kitty and I welcome you back to my journey. I had the RNY gastric bypass surgery on June 25th, 2018, so this marks my 23-week post-op update. I started off my high weight at 238 pounds. I'm 5'6", I'm 38 years old, and last week I came to you and I weighed 161. Before I share with you my loss this week, I don't want to get super excited because a big part of this video is going to be discussing the slip up that I had midweek. So last week I came to you and I weighed 161, and this week I come to you and I weigh 156. That's 5 pounds. 5 pounds that I lost in the last week, and I hit my 5-month surgery this week. So that's pretty dang amazing that I am losing this much this far out. I do contribute a big part of my success to not only my running and exercise routine, but to the diet that I have sustained through the last 5 months. So I cut out all of my sugars for the most part. I cut out caffeine, I cut out alcohol, I cut out my simple carbs like bread, rice, pasta, white flour, and I've been very, very disciplined up to this point. Each year at my company, we select a word of intention that we try to live by, and in 2018, my word of intention was discipline. I focused the first half of the year on my finances, and I'd love to share and do a video on that sometime and just show you a lot of tricks and tips on how to make some extra little cash on the side. And I got those under control. And then the second half of the year, my focus was going to be my diet, my health. And I think I've really lived up to my word of intention and really been disciplined this year until this week. So I effed up. I did. I effed up. And let me go over my excuses first. So this week we experienced a snowstorm in Kansas City. So I worked from home on Monday and I worked from home on Tuesday. And the kitchen was super close. I was kind of snacking and munching on nuts and dried fruit. Those are my downfall right now. And I did okay though, even though they were outside of my regular planned meals and snacks. I did go ahead and eliminate a protein shake each day because I figured I was getting plenty of protein in with all the nuts. On Wednesday, I returned back to work and I continued to snack on nuts and dried fruit. And I felt a loss of control. Monday, Tuesday was okay. Wednesday, I definitely felt a loss of control. And so not only was I out of routine this week, but it was my daughter's birthday party last week, and one of my biggest temptations, something that I have loved in the past before surgery, is birthday cake. And when we had her party, I didn't have any of it. Actually, it was fine. It wasn't until the leftover birthday cake came home and I was serving my son and my daughter pieces throughout the next couple days, and I was like trying to hold my nose not to smell it because the temptation, oh lordy, it was so tempting, but I didn't have any. So anyway, that's my other excuse, is that I was around birthday cake this week and I was thinking about it. Also, I'm supposed to be getting my period. I haven't. It's late again, and I know that my hormones do get out of whack, and do for many of you when you are post-op weight loss surgery. But I was definitely feeling the cravings that I do, and so I blew it on Wednesday. I continued to snack on nuts and dried fruit throughout the day, and I started to have the fear that I'm not going to dump on the sugars in this fruit, in the dried fruit. And I've had plenty of it to make me dump. And I continued on with kind of my meals throughout the day. And my daughter and I went to my son's basketball game that evening. And on the return, all I could think about was chocolate. I wanted some chocolate. I needed some chocolate. And I have not had any real chocolate except my Premier Protein chocolate shakes or my chocolate calcium 500s or my sugar-free chocolate puddings. Aside from that, I've not had any real chocolate since before surgery. And the craving was so bad. I wanted some chocolate so bad. And I knew we keep lots of goodies in the house. I just do. I keep it for my kids. And I knew exactly where chocolate was in the house. So I opened up the bag of Reese's Trees, which I had saved for the stockings, and I pulled out two of the little mini Reese's. One was milk chocolate, one was white chocolate, and I ate them. And then I continued and I had a Little Debbie's Cosmic Brownie. And the feeling that I got from eating the chocolate, it was good, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this is the best food on earth. So I don't think I missed it that much. It was funny because the sugar hitting my teeth actually was very sensitive. My teeth were really sensitive to it for not having sugar for so long. And I think I had this fear that I'm not going to dump on sugar and I really want to test it out. For some reason, all the cravings, everything leading up to it, and I wanted to test it out. And guess what? I didn't dump. It was about 56 grams of sugar in one sitting, which is insane. And I didn't dump. So it was really close to bedtime, so I was going to sleep anyway. I don't know, at least I slept through if there was any pains associated with it. But I did feel my intestinal kind of area feel a little like funny, wonky, like what's going on? What is this in here? But overall I was okay and I went to sleep. So, hello, my name is Little Kansas Kitty and I'm addicted to sugar. Well, this is why I've tried to eliminate it throughout this entire process. I know I have a sugar addiction. When I have a little bit, I crave it and I want it and I want to binge on it. I have a history of binge eating disorder, so it's pretty scary when something like this happens. Do you remember the mice study? Princeton did this just a few years back, but it's a popular study. And the study is where cocaine addicted mice are given sugar water, and majority of them, I think 93% of them, actually select and prefer the sugar water over cocaine.
Study 43 cocaine-addicted laboratory rats were given the choice of cocaine or sugar water over a 15-day period. 40 out of the 43 chose the sugar. In another study, rats on a sugar water diet exhibited telltale signs of addiction, binging, craving, and withdrawal when the sugar was taken away.
Food addiction, specifically sugar addiction, is a real thing. It's not a metaphor. It is a biological fact. Sugar is said to be 8 times more addictive than cocaine. I remember going to an Overeaters Anonymous group years ago, and there was a lady there, and she said that she is completely sugar-free. And I remember looking at her and thinking, how can you possibly not eat sugar? It's in everything. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why someone would go completely sugar-free. But she said that she did not trust herself with it and with having it in her diet. And I get it. I totally get it. So I'm human. Forgive me. Mistakes will happen, and you can't be perfect always. But here's what you can do. You can get right back on track. So I decided to return to some of the lessons that I have learned in the past. And you may have heard of the 3-day rule of effective habits. If you're trying to establish or maintain a habit, do not do something more than 3 days that you want to do forever. Or on the flip side, do not skip something for 3 days that you want to lose. I've always fallen back on this idea of the 3 days. So I had the Monday, Tuesday where I was snacking on nuts, but I did okay on that. The third day is when I really, really went overboard. And I basically, knowingly, after I had that chocolate and I went to bed, I knew I was going to start fresh in the morning and I was going to get right back on track. And so the big key is after a binge, your typical behavior the next day often will be starve yourself. You've had way too many calories, you've done way too much the day before, starve yourself. And that is where the cycle starts and doesn't end. I've learned this over the years. And so what did I do? I went back to my regular diet the next day. I had all my regular planned meals, very full and abundant of what I would normally eat, balanced, and all my snacks. And the key also was to drink lots of fluids. I think I had not been drinking fluids those earlier days in the week, and so my key was to get those fluids in. I had not binged over 170 days. That's almost 6 months. And I had to really stop and reflect on that success in order to let me accept the hiccup and move forward. There's a lot of other tips and tricks on what you can do to overcome a binge. I did chat a little bit with Fresh Orangina today, and she is 10 years post-op, so she's doing amazing. She is a success story, and she did tell me that she didn't really have sugar problems, dumping problems with sugar in the beginning, but her body has become more reactive to it over time. And so I did find that interesting that, the longer and further that I'm out, I could possibly experience some changes with my tool. So that will be interesting to see. So let's just talk a little bit about some fun stuff and talk about my running. So I was experiencing major runner's knee last week, and I started taking glucosamine. I think that was very beneficial to me. Also, I had a really fun snow run on Monday. It was insane. There's no way that I would have driven in that snow and ice, but being out there and just slowly, I'm talking about like 3 minutes slower than I usually am, just enjoying that snow and fresh air was pretty awesome. I did have an angry lady, kind of shout out her window and say, "Move out of the effing road." But she just wasn't very happy because she probably had to go to work, and I was home for the day. I did have a run into a Santa Claus today. So I did my long run of 18 miles today, and I saw this big Santa out in the distance getting into his truck, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, Santa Claus. And I ran up to him and I waved at him, and he rolled down his window, and I was like, hi. I was like, can I get a picture with you? He opened up his door and we took a quick selfie, and he wished me Merry Christmas and I wished him Merry Christmas, and he was off to a church gig and I was off to finish off the rest of my 18 milers. So that was pretty fun. This has been a week at work where we've celebrated philanthropy week. We do this once a year, and after I had my episode of my slip up, another thing that you can do to kind of bounce back on track is take the focus off you and put it on others. And so I was really involved with our philanthropy week. We brought in toys and books for kids in need. We did a donate-a-thon, and we ended up raising over $12,000 just of our own personal money. We did acts of kindness throughout the week. We did philanthropy trivia. So it was such a fun week. And so on one of my runs this week, I learned this new term. I was running before my friend joined me, and I had a trash bag and I was picking up trash, and then when she joined me, I was like, let's pick up some trash at the beginning of our run. And so we were running, and she was like, oh, that's a term. There's a term for that. Joggers that pick up trash while they run. And she said it was like it became trendy in California. And it actually is one of the hottest trends that started in California at the beginning of 2008, and it's called plugging. And that's for joggers that pick up trash while running. So that was kind of fun to do too. Then I got a few rolls of pennies from the store, and we ended up sprinkling pennies along our run, heads up along the sidewalks and streets. And a couple other of our friends joined us later in the run, and they are actually known for looking for change while they're running, which I do too. I love when my headlight like shines on a shiny penny or coin or something. And so we did put some in areas that we thought that they would find them, and that was pretty fun, and they got pretty excited when they found those lucky heads up pennies. Later that day, I was having lunch with my daughter on her birthday at her school, and I get out and there is a shiny quarter there on the ground. The same day that we put out, tons and tons of pennies. And so that just reminded me of something that I want to remind you of, and that is what you put out in this world, you get back. Have a great week, guys. Bye.